About 2 years ago, I created the painting Little Peony, and here's the story. You'll see the idea and inspiration, the palette evolution, as well as stages of the process for this small artwork, painting in highlights, shadows and transitions, accents, focal points, and more. Hi, Roxanne Dyer here. Thank you for visiting. I hope you enjoy the video. Little Peony was part of a project for 3 works I'd started in May 2023. The 12 by 12 inch paintings were based on photos I'd taken of gorgeous peonies after a visit to the local market. This is the image selected for the artwork. I'd reworked elements, moving the buds within the frame of the painting, sketched the composition, and tinted the canvas with an ochre wash. I'm going to try to do these at the same time. See what happens. My palette was composed around a cozy, elegant, and chocolatey rose idea. Imagining how a finished work will feel is an excellent place to start. Then I washed in a grayish background and translucent red pigments for the underpainting. Before cleaning up the underpainting, I mixed a few neutral values as a point of departure and then selected my brushes. Shadows work together with highlights and darks to describe the depth, structure, and feeling in this small work. I like that color. I am going to start putting in some of those very high-key whites in this little piece. So I'll be using these flat brushes, and as well, for some details, smaller details, I'll use this filbert. Maybe a little bit through here. I began this artwork with high-key accents describing the most illuminated parts of the peony. Here's why. Back in 2018 at a painting workshop in Santa Fe, David Leffel instructed us to paint the finish. I understood that meant to get your values in, to immediately establish a structure, a very strong structure, within the artwork in order to imagine the finished work right from the beginning. And that worked for me. I recorded these clips with my iPhone in a time-lapse mode. Otherwise, the files just become way too heavy. Slowing them down created a peculiar effect of paint appearing without a stroke. It was very odd. And there was no sound because of this, so I added a music track. It is one of my favorites and is listed below. Some of the strokes are really jagged, and there's occasional vibration where I dragged equipment across the floor. Well, it makes things a little more organic, I suppose. This work was a lot of fun. There were no pressures, deadlines, or stress at the time I was painting it. I felt the artwork was very sweet and a delight to create. As regards to feeling, I thought the chocolatey rose palette gave it a warm, cozy appeal. And other than the fluffy quality it has, as a fellow artist described the artwork, the entire point of this little piece, I'd say, is to be lovely and make the viewer smile. While this is essentially the focus on a pink bloom, I'd taken the liberty to give it a more elegant quality by desaturating the palette in order to create the illusion of a warm, chocolatey rose peony. This is a fairly classic composition with a focal point, which is a bloom with a fiery core. Structure of the artwork was established through contrast of values with white pigments to deep verdant greens and browns, and a range of mellow, rosy, cream, and lavender transitions. All these elements sit within a warmish, neutral space. Accents, the hot reds and orange of the peony heart with a fiery core, which is seen later in this video, rest within range of the upper right third of this artwork. This is a very broad brush for this, but we'll see what happens with it. It's maybe a little more interesting, I'd say. And I'll go back over it if I don't like it. this over here a little bit. Shadows work together with highlights and darks to describe depth, structure, and feeling. I'd picked up a little paint from nearby to cloak these petals so they disappear into the background except for the highlights on the edges. This helps to create the illusion of depth. There was a secondary tray of mixed whites and tinted pigments. I think I threw it out. Anyway, this warm yellow could have come from here on the main palette with a little more white and yellow added. Notice the change in value, a more interesting transition from light to dark, rather than just blending the white with the chocolatey brown. Abstractions of shape and patches of color are more interesting to me when painting. David Leffel told us to just put the patch of color down and leave it alone. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he did say, if I remember correctly, that even if it's wrong, it will look crisp and definite, and will work with the painting and you'll retain the freshness. And I'll add to that the excitement in an artwork. So really bringing everything together here, smoothing out some of the shapes and making everything look cohesive. I wanted to talk about my brushes and as far as the painting is concerned, that once a brush is loaded, I try not to put another color on that brush if possible. This keeps the pigments from getting muddy. And as the painting progresses, this becomes more difficult, especially as edges of color and patches are integrated and softened. Hot colors going into the heart here. I don't like to keep wiping brushes with rags and paper towels because they accumulate and are a nuisance to dispose of. But when a painting is finished, I clean the brushes in Murphy's oil soap. And if I stop the painting process, I'll wrap up the brushes in cling wrap and store them in the freezer overnight, where they stay nice and juicy for the next time I need to work with them. So I'm really fluffing things out here at this point. I create these videos because they're a way to invite you, collectors and fans, into my creative world to share thoughts and ideas that shape my creations, as well as the joy that's a very big part of why I paint. Recently, several people remarked that they did not understand what was actually happening in these painting process videos. Well, that's okay. It's a look into something new, a window into mysterious goings-on of a painter's world and the thought process behind it. There are no limits to where inspiration can be found. Little Peony was completed over a 10 to 14-day period. The painting won first prize in the 2023 Artists in Montreal Summer Exhibition. Thank you for joining in. Please like and subscribe if the video provided value, and share it with friends who would enjoy this content. By the way, there's a quick bonus at the end, a brushwork tip that might be of interest to fledgling artists. I found no video of the transition between these two images of the peony buds, but here's a video moment illustrating brushwork that accomplishes a similar action. It's also seen earlier in the video at 5 minutes and 57 seconds. It's not a complicated move, but should be applied sparingly and with discretion. Bye.